5.2 Presentation and Participation. Your group presentation should be ready for final review, and each team member should provide feedback on the presentation as a whole for final review, which can be done in Teams meeting or through email. Final step is to review your presentation by reading and watching it closely and critically. When you are confident in your product and comfortable with the content, you can feel less anxious and will be able to enjoy sharing your presentation and receiving feedback. And you will get to enjoy learning from your peers' presentation and offering them valuable feedback, as well as learning from their feedback on your presentation. In preparation for submission of your group presentation, review the checklist, the submission expectations, and the feedback and evaluation criteria provided below. Once all team members have approved the final draft, upload your submission. Presentation checklist. Revision is part of construction, and we all read and edit as we work. In some ways, the product is always in construction, and changes that occur near completion can make significant improvements on the final product. Until all the pieces start lining up, we can't see how it all works together, so leaving time for close and critical review and revision is a necessary step in submitting a product that fulfills the assignment, let alone exceeds expectations. Review should correct errors and address oversights, and revision should allow you to rethink and improve the final product. Using a checklist to make sure the submission fulfills the criteria of the assignment is an important first step in review as part of your larger revision. Start with a basic review to make sure your presentation contains all the required elements to fulfill the assignment. Consider not only the requirements stated in the readings, but also any other expectations your instructor clarified. Once you and your team members have confirmed that all the required elements are in place, read the content in the presentation. Read for sentence level details first. General rules of formal written communication apply to presentations, so check your bullets, citations, spelling, and capitalization for all the text. Every team member is responsible and will share a grade, so every team member should read through all the text for grammar, mechanics, clarity, and everything. Nothing is only one team member's job. Also, review the presentation design for clarity and quality beyond content. Ask yourself these questions. Is the text readable? Do the colors work? Is animation used effectively to transition between text and slide? Is sound included? Are titles clear? Are the visuals appropriate and effective and captioned? How do the design elements promote the position? Do the design elements work together to complement each other? What could make the presentation elements stronger? While you surely thought of these elements along the way, it isn't until you can review the presentation all together and in one viewing that you can see how elements impact each other. Next, consider delivery. Your presentation will be delivered in an asynchronous digital format, but you should still think of how to engage the audience. You can include questions and ask your audience to consider answers. You can provide a digital handout or speaker notes to follow, or you can just ask audience members to consider something specific at the beginning and then circle around and ask about it again at the end. Think of a great presentation you have watched or seen live and what made it so great. As you practice and prepare, team members should give each other feedback on all the elements of the presentation. As you work on your section and once your group has a final product, send it to friends for feedback. Sending your presentation to friends also helps you make sure it transports well and plays across platforms. Many of the same expectations of live presentations apply to recorded presentations. Make sure you do not fill your slides with so much text that the font is smaller than 20 point. Avoid directly reading the slides in your recording. Recorded presentations should have a script that engages and expands the text on the slides. Each slide should have a script with narration text that can be shared and will be used to make sure that all captioning is correct, but the script should expand upon the bullet points on the slides. In all cases, integrate relevant visuals and explain them to your audience. Although it may not seem to be the case, how team members get along is evident in each area of the presentation. A lack of collaboration results in a presentation that is choppy and disconnected and looks like a bunch of separate parts and thoughts were pasted together. A design that isn't consistent across the slide deck also suggests a lack of cohesion. Tension among members is hard to hide when the cameras start rolling. Even posture and positioning can demonstrate teamwork, so don't overlook the importance of collaboration on the content, design, and delivery. Finally, remember your specific audience throughout your review, and don't forget the intention, which is to present and support a position to a specific audience with the goal of persuading the audience. Is your position statement clear and strong? Are the best claims presented, and are they in the best order? Do the claims build upon each other? Do the strongest claims and evidence lead? What can be done to make the argument stronger? What can be done to tailor the argument more for the intended audience? And have you considered your peers and instructor as audiences as well? Do unto your audience as you would have them do unto you, because you will be their audience too. In fact, you will submit peer feedback for all your peers' presentations, and you will receive feedback from your audience. You won't be judged on whether or not you convince them, but you will need to be sure not to confuse them. Reviewing the feedback expectations now will not only prepare you to be an engaged audience for your peers, it will also allow you and your team to review your presentation, knowing specifically what your audience will expect. Submission and evaluation. Once your presentation has been reviewed, you will upload one copy in Canvas as a group assignment. Your instructor may use additional submission spaces depending on how the assignment will be presented, but the official submission must be in Canvas by the deadline. Unlike your peers, who will provide feedback as a neutral audience with the goal of allowing you to see which important pieces of information your audience recognized in your presentation, your instructor will evaluate the presentation based on the quality of the content, the design, and the delivery. Feedback and grading, however, will be separated. Presentation feedback will be given to the group submission through Canvas using a specific rubric for the group presentation. 4 criteria will be evaluated: content, design, delivery, and teamwork. Content considerations include the position statement, context, claims, evidence, and refutation. For each, the strength of the source, the integration of the content within the larger argument, the reasoning connected to the claims to the evidence and position, and the formatting will be considered as part of the overall efficacy. Design considerations include the layout and formatting of any digital or print elements of the presentation. Considerations related to delivery include all technical, verbal, nonverbal, and visual elements of the recorded presentation. Finally, teamwork, as noted above, can impact all of these areas and will be considered accordingly. Consistency and continuity across slides and a shared distribution of work demonstrate teamwork. The following feedback rubric will be used to provide your team with learning opportunities related to the construction of the content, the design of the presentation, the delivery of the material, and the collaboration of the team. Below you will find a rubric with 4 criteria: content, design, delivery, and teamwork. Each criteria is judged by 6 different rubric criteria, which fall along exceptional, great, meet expectations, requires development, significant development required, unsatisfactory, or incomplete. And please read through on your own time. Each one of those rubric criteria for each rubric category is gone throughout that rubric. Use of this feedback rubric does not determine the grade for the group presentation, but this evaluation will provide you and your team with feedback and will inform your instructor as she, he, or they consider your overall performance as part of the team and the group presentation. Individual grades for the group presentation will be assigned in Canvas as part of the group presentation reflection submitted in 6.1, which will allow your instructor to include considerations that go beyond the product in the rubric when evaluating your work throughout the group presentation. Your peers will also provide feedback on your presentation. Using what you know about how your instructor will evaluate your presentations and what your peer audience will watch, look, and listen for in your presentation, review and finalize your group presentation for submission. Peer feedback format. After you submit your group presentation, sigh and smile. Then dive back in by providing peer feedback and then reflecting upon your work and the work of your group. In 5.2, you will review and summarize your peers' presentation as an audience member, and they will provide the same feedback to you. Peer feedback will be uploaded after the presentations have been delivered as a discussion thread. Being an audience for the same assignment you are developing is very helpful. By knowing what you will look for in your peers' presentations, you can also know what your audience will look for in your presentation and how your team can prepare to meet those expectations. Our goal is to serve as an audience for our peers in the most concrete sense, which means that you are not trying to evaluate their presentations or review and edit their work. In fact, you aren't even trying to give critical feedback, which is probably what you are accustomed to offering as part of peer review. Instead, you will use what you know about close reading and annotation to practice being observers. Your role as audience members is to identify and document key components in the peers' presentations, which will let your peers and your instructor know how clearly the presentations deliver their key points. Essentially, you will reverse outline the presentations you watch, and your audience will do the same for your presentation. The goal of your presentation, then, is to present your argument and the supporting evidence in a clear and concise manner that fulfills the assignment expectations so that your audience can identify and understand the important information. In our 2.1 reading on creating context, we discussed the distinction between persuasion and argumentation. Ideally, our goal for our audience of USF students is to convince them, but practically, our goal is to present an argument in support of our position that is clear and understandable so that our peers can identify and hopefully acknowledge the evidence in support of our position. Asking our peers to identify elements of our presentations will provide us with the feedback on how well we accomplished our goal, which is intended to facilitate our learning and development and to inform our position papers. Additionally, you should provide comments that inform your peers. The following elements should be considered as part of your peer presentation feedback. Number 1, did you know the title, presenters, position, and agenda within the first 30 seconds? Number 2, list the title, team members, and position statement. Number 3, what main points of background context were offered and how were they relevant to the main points? Number 4, what was the first claim and what evidence was presented for the first claim? Number 5, what was the second claim and what evidence was presented for the second claim? Number 6, what was the third claim and what evidence was presented for the third claim? Number 7, what oppositional claim was presented and how was it refuted? Number 8, were the sources identified and integrated? Number 9, which presentation elements were used to support the position? And number 10, offer general feedback as an audience member, attempting to identify and prioritize the points offered in the presentation. For 10, you can note whether you were impacted or if your opinion was changed, and you can mention the clarity or the reasoning that connected the claims and the evidence, but commenting on the strength of the overall argument is not necessary. Our goal is not to provide direction or evaluation. We want to provide our peers with an audience and with a range of feedback they can use to evaluate their own work and perhaps to inform their papers. You can take notes on the presentations as you watch them with the goal of noting the required points. The feedback will be uploaded to Canvas for 5.2 as a threaded discussion post so you can see your peers' feedback and they can see your feedback. Your peers will be very interested to read your feedback, so out of respect for them, upload quality work that can help them understand the clarity of their presentation and how the delivery of their evidence was received, which can help everyone as we revisit this content for individual position papers. Our goal is to help each other, and ultimately, we are all on the same team. After uploading feedback for your peers, review the feedback given to you by your peers. Peer feedback can help you learn more about presenting, but it can also help as you think through the position paper and determine how to construct clear claims and integrate strong evidence in support of your position. 5.2, Presentation and Participation. Upload one copy of your team's presentation to the group presentation upload link on the Canvas page for week 5 and to any other space your instructor requires. After you upload your presentation, review your peers' presentation and provide feedback on all presentations by responding to the following. Number 1, list the title, team members, and position statement. Number 2, did you know the title, presenters, position, and agenda within the first 30 seconds? Number 3, what main points of background context were offered and how were they relevant? Number 4, what was the first claim and what evidence was presented for the first claim? Number 5, what was the second claim and what evidence was presented for the second claim? Number 3, what was the third claim and what evidence was presented for the third claim? Number 7, what oppositional claim was presented and how was it refuted? Number 8, how were the sources identified and integrated? Number 9, how did presentation elements, visual, verbal, and nonverbal, support the position? And number 10, what general feedback would you offer as an audience member attempting to identify and prioritize the points offered in the presentation?